Thank you very much, Greg. And good morning, everyone. Bill Stevens here as we are watching the crowd come in. And welcome to our live broadcast of this 2001 Veterans Day service at South Middle School. And we're very pleased we can bring you this broadcast here on WSON as things a bit different this morning. Normally, we would have had a hard time coming through the foyer at South early this morning because normally they have a community breakfast. All the veterans would be here, members of the public, local dignitaries. Unfortunately, with still things the way they are in the pandemic and the restrictions that are still in place through the state and the education department, they cannot invite folks in like they normally would. Hopefully that'll be much different 12 months from now. But in the meantime, we just have basically the student body here. The dignitaries that will be on stage are school superintendent, Dr. Bob Lawson, the principal of the South Middle School, Ryan Rush, members of the local veterans groups, the American Legion Worship Post number 40 here is with their honor guard. They'll have the 21-gun salute. And then that's about it, just the teachers and the normal staff here at South Middle School. Everyone masked up for safety's sake. And it looks like we are about to get underway here in just a moment. We'll start with the presentation of the colors, the national anthem, My Old Kentucky Home, and then the program will proceed from there. Again, big thanks to all our fine sponsors making this possible on air and online. And a first time ever dual live stream for us here at WSON on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to watch it on that, it should be feeding right now as we speak. And another great service, and we couldn't do it without these fine sponsors you've been hearing all morning. Thanks to all those who called in during that call-in program, something we hadn't tried before, and I think we'll probably do it again, maybe even expand it as time goes on. But again, stand by. We should be starting momentarily with today's program here on WSON, AM and FM, online at WSONradio.com, YouTube, WSON Radio channel, and Facebook live stream on our WSON. And I will say, hats off again to the students, the faculty, and everyone here at the South Middle School. They could very easily have said, we're just not going to do this. They could have just said, well, let's wait another year. But instead they wanted to do this because they know how important it is, not just for the students, but also for the public as well. And we do appreciate them allowing us to be here. We're safely tucked away on the top floor of the mezzanine here of the gymnasium, straight on camera shot to the podium. But we'll be panning around and showing you the band and the choir as they're performing. You can hear some of the band music right now in the background. I think we hear from Ryan Rush as he's bringing the crowd to attention.
All right, South Middle School, thank you so much for your attention today. We are proud to have the Veterans Day program here at South Middle School. At this time, I'd like to introduce our principal, Mr. Ryan Rush. Superintendent Bob Lawson. Colonel Kim Smith. And Veteran Sergeant Gino Shoemaker. And a big round of applause for our National Legion Honor Guard.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of colors by the American Legion Honor Guard. At this time, Student Jack Ryan Rush, please come down for the Pledge of Allegiance. it together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing as our South Middle School band, under the direction of Mr. Burns, plays our national anthem. Please stay standing as our choir sings My Old Kentucky Home. They are Logan Duncan, Isaiah Wright, Jake Nunn, Katie Beth Vandergrift, Anna Lee Richard, Diamond McGuire, Kiana Swift, Jenna Ingeseth, and Jemiah Chester. Please stay standing as our American Legion Honor Guard post our flags. Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of our staff and students here at South Middle School, I'd like to welcome you to our 34th Annual Veterans Day program. We have a strong tradition of honoring our veterans. We are so appreciative of our veterans. We want to thank you for your service, gentlemen, and for those on live stream, Facebook, and YouTube and the radio. We want to send out our heartfelt welcome to you and appreciation. Our Veterans Day is something that defines us here at South Middle School. We've had COVID these last couple years, and it is really killing us that we cannot have this program like we always do. So I want to say to the veterans, we will have this thing back full go, and we are hoping very much next year, because we know that our veterans look so forward to this. They look so forward to getting that invitation letter handwritten by our students. This year we look forward to not doing that, but we are going to be giving thank you notes, handwritten thank you notes, because our students need to know of the sacrifice that you men and women gave for us. So we'll be expecting that in the mail, a lot of you. I want to thank WSON and Bill Stevens for their commitment to the Veterans Day program. They went above and beyond to make sure that this program was on the TV and on the radio, and their commitment to our veterans and Henderson itself is just completely amazing. And I want to thank Bill Stevens and WSON. I want to put in a plug for them today. After our veterans program, they are going to have on the radio, they're going to have an opportunity, a call-in show. And I'm looking forward to call-in myself, because what that is, it's a call-in show where family members can highlight one of their relatives that's a veteran, and they're going to do that for, I think, an hour or two after the Veterans Day program. That's going to be on the radio. So I'm looking forward to hearing that after our ceremony. I'm very proud of our band and choir. I'm looking forward to hearing their performance today. We've taken a break from this for a couple years, and I'm so proud. Everybody remembers Mr. Wilkerson and Mr. Metzger, and I know the circle of life keeps continuing, and I'm so proud that we now have students that were Henderson County Middle School students. Mr. Burns sat in these very seats just not too many years ago, and now he's come full circle, and now he's our band member, he's our band director. And that makes me feel so good, because one of the reasons he took this job is because of the impact that this Veterans Day program had on him. And Miss Nash the same. She was a North Middle School student, so she's a homegrown young lady who's come back to serve her community. And so as Mr. Wilkerson and Mr. Metzger pass the torch on, I'm just excited to see this tradition continue and the pride that they take. I want to thank the American Legion Honor Guard today for your service and coming to do this for us. We could not invite very many veterans because of the COVID pandemic, but we appreciate you guys coming, and it would not be the same without you, and we look forward to the 21 gun salute. I want to recognize our distinguished guests today. I'm going to be introducing Gunnery Sergeant shoemaker in a bit, but I wanted to, we haven't had this ceremony in a couple of years. And so I want to reintroduce to you a gentleman that gave us our motto. Now, I've told you this story before, but Colonel Jim Smith, I'd like to recognize him. Colonel Jim Smith, could you stand, please? Colonel Jim Smith he's a Vietnam veteran. He was a Huey helicopter pilot in Vietnam. And so he comes back every year, and he is our Master of Ceremonies, is what we call him. He's going to be coming forward and educating you on the different parts of the ceremony. But I tell this story all the time, but since we are a veterans school, we're not just a Veterans Day school, we're a veterans school. Those displays in the lobby, you will see those displays 365 days a year. So I wanted a veteran to come in and give us our marching cry. Our words, our simple words to live by. And I had Colonel Smith come to talk to our students one time. And the words he gave us is now up on the wall. And we make it a part of our code that we live by here at South Middle School. And here's what he said. I asked him, how do you become a colonel? Because it's difficult to be a colonel. You have to go through a lot of steps. They don't give colonels to everybody. The words he said are on our wall. He said, it's as simple as this. I always did exactly what I was told to do, and I always took time to do extra. And so we rephrased that as the Bulldog way. Do what's expected plus more. And so Colonel is here every year, and we're so thankful that he came back to be our Master of Ceremonies again. Very proud at this time to hand the microphone off to our Superintendent of Henderson County Schools. He's got a few remarks for us. Dr. Bob Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. I'd like to simply say to our veterans and all of our military personnel, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the service and sacrifice of your families. It's humbling just to be in your presence. And I know everyone here at South Middle School feels that way. As Mr. Rush said, this is a veterans school, not just a Veterans Day school. Though this Veterans Day program is special here and throughout the state and the country, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Rush and the entire staff for putting on this ceremony. If I heard it correctly from Mr. Grace, we've done this here at South Middle School for 30 plus years, and continuing a tradition of honoring those who serve us speaks to the character of the school, and it speaks to the brand of your leadership and your staff. I'd like to say thank you to our staff for continuing to honor those who have given the most and continuing to honor those who have lived their lives to serve others, and by modeling that in the way you teach our students every day, the way you work in the school every day. And again, I'd like to thank Mr. Rush for being a principal who's continued this tradition. I'd like to say a very special thank you to our students. As I look around the room, I see very attentive body language. I see students who realize they're in the presence of folks who are special. And having that type of intuitiveness is a very good character trait. I want to thank you for listening with both your eyes and your ears today. And lastly, just to quickly say thank you to our tech department and WSON. As Mr. Rush said, WSON has been a fantastic partner to make this happen. And throughout the COVID years, we've experienced many challenges. And our technology department at WSON today is making this year's Veterans Day ceremony possible for us to celebrate that along with our community. It's my honor to be here today, and I want to again thank our veterans for their service.
I would now like to introduce our guest speaker. Gunnery Sergeant James A. Shoemaker was born in Henderson, Kentucky. He is the son of Ray and Evelyn Shoemaker and has 11 brothers and sisters. He is a 1989 graduate of Henderson County High School and a 2003 graduate of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with a Bachelor's of Science in Professional Aeronautics. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1991 and completed recruit training at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina. In 1992, he completed Marine combat training at Camp Geiger, North Carolina, and Air Traffic Controller School in Millington, Tennessee. Throughout his 20-year career in the Marine Corps, Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker served at multiple duty stations, including Millington, Tennessee, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Hawaii, Pensacola, Florida, Japan, and Yuma, Arizona. Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker served in multiple billets as a Marine, with his last being the Operations Chief for a Marine Air Traffic Control Detachment Bravo. Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker served in multiple deployments, including Operation Unified Assistance as the Marine Mobile Team Leader and Group Staff NCOIC, providing humanitarian assistance to tsunami victims. In support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, he served one tour as Mission Commander for the Joint Airborne Battle Staff in Balad, Iraq, and two tours as Detachment Tower Chief at TQ, Iraq. In support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker served as the Operations Chief and Marine Mobile Team Leader at Forward Operating Base Camp Dwyer, Afghanistan. Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker retired in 2011 after 20 years of service. His personal awards include the Meritorious Service Medal, Air Medal Strike Flight 6th Award with one individual achievement, Navy Commendation Medal, and the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal with one gold star. Since his retirement in 2011, Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker has been employed with Midwest Air Traffic Control Services at the Owensboro Air Traffic Control Tower. He currently resides with his wife Denisa in Henderson. Denisa graduated from the University of Southern Indiana and Murray State University with her master's in education and is currently in her 27th year in education as instructional coach here at South Middle. They have a 19-year-old daughter named Jada, who is a second-year psychology student at Western, and a 25-year-old son, Keegan, who is married to his wife, Jessica. They are graduates of Liberty University, reside in Grand Island, Florida, and have a 4-month-old daughter named Evangeline Joy. At this time, please give a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Gunnery Sergeant James A. Shoemaker.
Well, I don't know who wrote the length of that bio. All right, this is not working. Good morning, Bulldogs. I'd like to thank Mr. Ryan Rush and Dr. Lawson, Colonel Smith, and of course you, the students, for allowing me the honor of speaking on this 2021 Veterans Day celebration. I'd also like to thank my beautiful wife, Denisa, y'all know her as Miss Townsend, for being on board with me speaking today. She's a hero of mine for her 27 years of service and dedication. to the parents and children in the community of Henderson. I know we don't have as many veterans here today, but it is my great honor to speak in the presence of the heroes that are here and those watching from home. We have veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Operation Iraqi and Enduring Freedom, and various other conflicts and humanitarian assistance operations throughout our history. I have two uncles that are veterans, both who have now passed. My uncle Bill Shoemaker, retired as Navy Senior Chief, aviation instructional mechanic after 25 years of service, and served during 3 wars. My uncle Dutch Shoemaker served as an artillery gun crewman in the Army during World War II. And I'd like to express to my cousins that may be watching my sincere gratitude for their father's service. 2 nephews of mine served during the Global War on Terror. Alan Dunn, a Marine veteran, and Carlos Rendon, an Army veteran, and I'd like to thank them for their service. I'd like to recognize the veterans that are present and at home, all of our armed forces that are currently serving across the globe. I'd like to recognize Jim Hanley, Jim, and the American Legion veterans present for their service to our nation, our community, and what you're doing for us today. If our veterans could all please rise, everybody that is present, I'd appreciate it. Please rise. Let's give our veterans a robust ovation. Thank you. We must also recognize the Gold Star families. I don't know if there's anybody here today, but there are surely some watching. The veterans of these families and many others will not be able to be here with us today, for they've given the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. These men and women must never be forgotten. Their sacrifice has shaped our nation into the greatest nation man has ever known. And let's take a moment of silence and honor these great warriors. Thank you. All right, 35 years ago, I was a student at North Junior High School just across town. I was a freshman. I look back at that time and try to recall what I remember about our country, our freedoms, and our veterans. And I can honestly say my knowledge was quite limited. My father, who passed in 2019 at 96 years old, was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps and a combat veteran from World War II. He flew as an airborne radio operator and flew over 500 hours through the Pacific Island hopping campaign. Just prior to the war ending, he trained as a dive bomber gunner. Unfortunately, he didn't have to put that training to use. He was far removed from his Marine Corps days by the time I came along in 1971. After the war ended, he met and married my wonderful mother, Evelyn. She passed away this March at the age of 95. They would have just celebrated their 74th wedding anniversary. During their life, they had 12 children, and now our reunions of immediate family members consist of over 120 descendants. So you can see they were quite busy. He retired from 2 careers, and at the ripe old age of 95, 1 year before his passing, he was still playing golf. So when I was born, he was busy raising a family, involved in community service, and in the midst of his professional career. Although it had been 30 years since he left the Marine Corps, my father's Marine spirit still emanated through his loyalty, his bearing, his humility, and his patriotism, which I witnessed my entire life. I cannot possibly fathom the trials he and his generation had to overcome, but not only do I believe his generation is our greatest generation, I believe my father is the greatest man I've ever known. He was a main influence in my life, and although he never actually suggested it or encouraged it, he was my inspiration to become a Marine. Almost 30 years ago, I stood on the yellow footprints at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina. 13 weeks later, I earned the title United States Marine. That day was the most influential day of my life. It launched a journey for me that would expose me to some of the greatest men and women that would ever live. It took me places far from home. It changed my heart, and it changed my mind. And it opened me up to experiences I never dreamt of as a youngster. If God had not already blessed me with 11 brothers and sisters enough, He gave me a whole other band of brothers and sisters by leading me into the Corps. If you ever wonder what your weaknesses are and how to overcome them, join the United States Marine Corps. If you ever wonder what your strengths are and how to exploit them, join the Corps. And if you ever desire to belong to a band of brothers from which a bond would form that cannot be broken, I say become a United States Marine. Just yesterday, on 10 November, the Marine Corps celebrated its 246th birthday. 246 years of the fiercest fighting force the world has ever known, infiltrating every clime and place, ensuring the freedom of our great nation. The birthday of our Corps is more important to me than my own birthday, and I'd say most of my Marine brethren probably feel the same. So you probably ask, why am I talking about the Marine birthday on Veterans Day? Yes, we're here to honor all veterans, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guardsmen. I've served with each one of these forces, and I have the utmost respect for them. In fact, on my first tour in Iraq, I was the mission commander for a small battle staff team. We provided command, control, and communication support to combat infantry units and mobilized units operating on the ground and in the air throughout Iraq. I had a member from every service on my team. Very few servicemen and women have that experience, and I can say I'm forever grateful for it. We also volunteered at the Army Hospital at LSA Anaconda. We assisted the medevac flight crews with the transfer of personnel from helicopters to the trauma unit for combat inflicted wounds. Men and women from all branches of the armed forces working together to help save lives. So even as I recall my experiences with joint forces, I always revert back to my roots. This is the reason I speak of the Marine Corps birthday. It is because it is my experience, and our celebration of that birthday is the essence of giving honor to our brothers and sisters in arms. During our celebration, Marines all over the world get dressed up in their best uniform, gather together, and celebrate the history of our Corps, the battles that our brethren have fought in, and to remember those who gave their lives in order for us to live the life of freedom that we so often take for granted. We celebrate the past, the present, and we look to the future of the Corps and the Marines that will come after us. It is a gathering of comrades that would fight to the death for the Marine, sailor, soldier, and airman to our flanks. Now, I'd like to talk about a Marine that embodies this ethos. Private First Class Richard Weinmaster was only 19 years old when he found himself deployed to Afghanistan in 2008. He'd been in country for only 2.5 months when he found himself in the fight for his life and the fight for his comrades' lives. He was awarded the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism while serving as an automatic rifleman for his platoon. PFC Weinmaster's squad was conducting a dismounted patrol down a narrow side street in Helmand Province when enemy forces ambushed the squad with machine gun fire and hand grenades. Upon contact, he immediately began engaging the enemy positions with a squad automatic weapon. As he delivered suppressive fire and assaulted the enemy, encountering a withering volume of fire that passed within meters of his position, he saw 2 hand grenades tossed over a wall laying in the middle of his patrol. Noting where one of the grenades landed, he quickly placed himself between the grenade and his fire team leader, using his body to shield both his team leader and several other Marines from the blast, which occurred immediately. He was seriously injured when the grenade detonated, but his valorous actions prevented his fire team leader from receiving any shrapnel. Although he was critically wounded, he continued to carry on the attack, engaging the enemy forces with accurate weapons fire and forcing them to break contact until he eventually collapsed from the gravity of his wounds. Now, that was partly his citation for his Navy Cross, but I'll say it doesn't tell the whole story. PFC Weinmaster did not just place himself between the grenade and his team. His team leader put it in his own words. Weinmaster shoved me out of the way and jumped towards the grenade to try and smother the blast. It exploded while he was in midair, and he took the brunt of the shrapnel. So he suffered critical injuries that day. He received shrapnel to his entire body, including a piece that went through his eye and is lodged in his brain to this day. Still, after receiving those life-threatening injuries, which most men would most definitely succumb to, he did not. He continued to fight until the enemy was repelled. He eventually recovered from his wounds and returned to his unit. In the interviews following this event, he was quoted as saying, "I was just doing my job. I didn't do anything special. Everyone on my left and right would have done the same thing. I was just in the right place at the right time." This Marine is the embodiment of sacrifice. He is the epitome of a Marine and our nation's veterans. His humility and reflection of his duty is an example to all. He, among many that became before him, that have served after him, and those who will serve in the future, are why we avail the freedoms that we do. Freedoms that so many people across the globe are devoid of due to government control. Freedom to live our lives as free men and women, speak freely, worship freely, and choose our own paths without the fear of a repressive government. Now, he probably wasn't thinking about that at the time of his actions. He was thinking of his brothers to his left and his right and protecting them and doing his job. But ultimately, he volunteered to defend this nation, the ideals of his people, and our freedoms. I would say his solemn oath was fulfilled that day. Now, I hope we can keep this story of his in our mind, keep it fresh, and pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on in your country and throughout the world. Do not forget the men and women currently serving as the tip of the spear for our armed forces. They've dedicated their lives in the defense of our great nation, and while we are at home with our families, our friends, technology, fast food, and our freedom, many of them are living in harsh conditions, separated from their loved ones for months on end, and facing dangers most of us will never see. I served multiple tours overseas and was separated from my son Keegan and my family many times throughout my career. I cannot express to you the unbearable heartache of seeing your son's eyes well up with tears as you prepare to leave for deployment. And I also cannot express to you the sadness of a father driving away from him each one of those times. One of the greatest struggles of a veteran, at least for me, is trying to make peace with the loss of time with loved ones, and in my case, especially my son. I may never make peace with that. Speaking of lost time, we must remember the fallen. They and their families have paid the ultimate price from which we all reap the benefits. We are free because of them, we're a sovereign nation because of them, and many of us have our lives because they gave up theirs. When you have a chance to speak with a veteran, do not let it pass you by. There are millions of American veterans in this country and across the globe who have experiences that shaped this nation, and it'd be a great tragedy for that knowledge to go to waste. I've mentioned the words hero and heroism a few times today. We veterans, we do not see ourselves as heroes, but we do see ourselves as patriots, although you do not have to be a veteran to be a patriot or a hero. As veterans, we swore a solemn oath at each enlistment to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Support and defend the Constitution. Our flag that we honor and that we saluted today is not just a piece of cloth. Our national anthem is not just a song. These are symbols that stand for our Constitution. Our Constitution is we the people. The Constitution does not exist without us. The people have authored it, amended it, fought for it, and died for it. Nations across the globe have tried to emulate it. The world looks up to us because of what we have done for the world. No nation in the world's history has liberated more people, cured more sick, rebuilt more communities, taken in more immigrants, and spread more freedom for the search of peace than the United States. People from all over the world desire to come here to live under this flag of freedom. That flag, our Constitution, in essence, we the people have built this country. All enemies, foreign and domestic, there are people across this globe and inside our country even that are averse to or against our Constitution. I urge you as young people and older people to read it, learn it, and understand it. It is the document that clearly defines the limitations of the federal government. Our government does not give us rights. As human beings, we have unalienable rights, meaning they cannot be given or taken away. The government only exists to protect these rights. They cannot take them away. However, if we do not remain vigilant and steadfast, we may lose that protection. Thomas Jefferson described these rights as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not the right to total happiness, but to pursue happiness. Not the right to liberty to be free from want, but the liberty to be free from government coercion. And not the right to life to which one feels entitled, but the right to live your life as you see fit according to your own conscience and within the bounds of the rights of your neighbors. Our Constitution was not perfect, nor is it perfect now. Individuals are not perfect. No one nation is perfect. And to be sure, no government is perfect. Just as people should not be necessarily defined by the sins and mistakes of their past, but rather by their ability to change course and not repeat them, nor should a nation be defined by the sins and mistakes of its past, rather its ability to learn from history and ensure those mistakes are not repeated. We, the people of this great representative democratic experiment, as General James Mad Dog Mattis once called it, we define this nation. We define this nation not by apologies, for every country since the beginning of time has done misdeeds. We define this nation by our ability to recognize our misdeeds and by altering course so as not to repeat them, so that the world shall see that the greatest nation ever born is not just an experiment of democracy. It is the model, and our enemies that seek to destroy that model will surely meet their fate at the hands of the United States soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine. Veterans are at the forefront of maintaining our way of life by defending our Constitution. We must be forever grateful for their service. Thank you again, Bulldogs, for your attention and respect this Veterans Day. Thank you to all veterans, past and present, and Semper Fidelis to all my Marine brothers and sisters. God bless America. I do have one more thing before Mr. Rush takes over. I brought a little something for your school today. This is a gift that y'all will be able to display in your lobby. I'd like to present it to Mr. Rush. And this is a flag that I flew in 2008 over Iraq when we did our missions over there. We did this, and I flew many flags just for occasions like this. And basically, this is to honor this school and the tradition that they continue on with this Veterans Day celebration. I can tell you there's a lot of veterans out there today that are sad because they can't be here. But it's a great thing, and everything is decorated like it is every year, even though we only have a few veterans here. And we all appreciate that as veterans, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So we thank you very much, and I hope y'all hang that with pride.
Gunnery Sergeant Shoemaker, absolutely. We talked about earlier today that every day is a Veterans Day celebration for us, and this will be in our lobby 365 days a year, and I look forward to you guys looking at this a little closer. This is a special gift. Thank you, sir. Colonel Jim Smith will now come forward and he will explain to you about the tribute to the armed services arrangement that our choir will sing.
It wasn't too many years ago, excuse me, that I was in a classroom right under those bleachers teaching technology education. So it's always a privilege to come back to, I guess, my alma mater and say, "Hi guys, you look good out there." Every organization has its song. South, the high school, has its fight song. Every military organization has their fight song. We're going to go through what's called a tribute to the armed services, which will be sung by the choir. There will be a song for each of our armed forces. As that song is being played, I will announce it. And if you have been a member of that service, or if you, the students, have a mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandfather that has been a member of that service, I'm going to ask you to stand just to honor those that the song is being sung for. Okay? The United States Army.
First to fight for the right and to build a nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count all your cadence on the show. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. For wherever we run, you always know that the army goes rolling along.
United States Marines.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
The United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Throughout in gale and shot and shell, to win the victory. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready, do or die. Like Coast Guard, we fight for you.
United States Navy.
Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to fallen shores, we sail at break of day, 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 day. Through our last night ashore, hail to
the United States Air Force.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down he dives, splashing our plane from under. Off with one terrible roar. We live in flame, and go down in flame, for nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. America, America, God shed His grace on thee. Oh, beautiful for heroes through deliberating strife, who more than self their country love and mercy more than life. America, America, may the night glorify, till all success be known, and every game be won.
Thank you, choir. I expect if you had looked around when people were standing, you would see that the armed forces touch a lot of people. There's another honor we do. It's called the Missing Man Roll Call. The name Missing Man is exactly that. When you have a roll call and a name is called, you answer here. If you're not there for some reason, it's silent. And that's what we do today. We have a missing man roll call. Some of these names that you hear, there will be no answer to because they're not with us anymore. So if you will please listen as your principal reads the names for the missing roll call.
Colonel James L. Smith.
Here.
Donald Banks. Charles Crabtree. Charles Crabtree. Jeff Oliver. Aubrey Williams Jr. Donnie Ray Pinkstaff. Donnie Ray Pinkstaff. Lee Boyd Rayleigh. Lee Boyd Rayleigh. Gunnery Sergeant James A. Shoemaker. Sappy Gastonfeld. Thomas Paul Hargett. Thomas Paul Hargett. John Hurst. Jimmy Riggs. John Raymond Shoemaker. John Raymond Shoemaker. Rustin Bargo, Brian Hill, Brian Hill, Bobby Maurice Lyles, Bobby Maurice Lyles, Daryl Wright, Paul Wheeler, James V. Vecchia, James V. Vecchia, Wayne Hargis, George Robert Wedding, Joseph E. Thomas, Joseph E. Thomas, John Darty, John Darty, Paul Berberick, Jim Hanley, Billy Jean Young, Billy Jean Young, Lee E. Stone, Lee E. Stone, Our choir will now perform My America Words.
Purple mountain majesties, amber waves of grain. This is my America to be received. Land of the free, from sea to shining sea. My America, let freedom ring. Purple mountains, majesties, timber waves of clarity. This is my America to be received. Land of the free, from sea to shining seas. My America, let freedom ring. Our fathers gone to the author of liberty, to the America to be received. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by that might, great God our King. My
That will conclude our program, veterans. I hope you have a wonderful day, and go Bulldogs.
South Middle School's done a great job today showing your respect for our veterans. You guys have been a great, wonderful crowd, and you showed the Bulldog way. At this time, everyone will remain seated, please. Teachers at the top, Mr. Sinnott is at Mr. Sinnott. If you would dismiss the top only by sections and down this way, just a few and then a few